the FBI is subpoenaing the WNBA and the NBA.
Federal authorities have officially stepped onto WNBA territory, and the timing could not be more explosive. In a jaw-dropping escalation, the FBI has demanded access to league phone logs, internal communications, and high-level financial records. This isn't some routine check-in. This is a major federal incursion. Executives are shaken, players are whispering, and front offices across the league are scrambling for answers. And if you're just joining us, make sure you hit subscribe because this story is unfolding fast and Court Queens is breaking every angle as it happens.
WNBA is at the front line of it all too because they is connected to this league. Now, I am here to tell you, the FBI is letting it be known they want phone records, schedules, the whole shebang.
What originally looked like a quiet extension of the NBA's ongoing investigation has transformed into a full-blown federal push straight into the WNBA. Insiders say the tension behind the scenes is unreal. People are lawyering up, phones are going dark, and entire departments are suddenly on edge. But the one question echoing through every arena and office is the same. What exactly did the FBI find that forced them to escalate with this kind of speed and force? And if you're watching, drop your thoughts in the comments. This investigation is getting deeper by the minute.
The article goes on to say NBA gambling scandal update. Startling Lakers team members into unfolding web of mysteries and suspicion. The Los Angeles Lakers are reportedly involved in a federal investigation to sports gambling with the NBA request records and property from multiple teams, according to Associate Mike Mankas and Executive Administration Randy Miller.
When the NBA probe first exploded, most assumed the chaos would stay locked inside that league. But federal investigations rarely live in a vacuum, and early clues were already pointing somewhere larger. Patterns in communication, strange financial inconsistencies, and cross-organization links raised eyebrows immediately. The deeper investigators looked, the clearer it became. This wasn't a single league issue. If you're following along, make sure to like this video so more people see what's really going on behind the curtains of pro basketball.
Guys, this is pointing right at LeBron's head, bro. I can't even lie. 6 lead sources told The Athletic that as part of the investigation into sports gambling, the NBA has requested records and other property from many teams, including the Lakers. So I'm here to tell you, the Lakers is not the only team. They just the focal point of the team because obviously who they have on their roster. But judging from what I'm reading, every team is involved.
What was supposed to be a straightforward sports betting inquiry suddenly cracked open into something far more complex. And the WNBA got pulled into the storm before anyone inside the league even knew what was happening. It all started when congressional committees demanded answers from NBA leadership about missing documents, unexplained gaps in evidence, and questionable communication handling. That pressure didn't just raise alarms, it blew the investigation wide open. And trust me, you'll want to subscribe because what comes next changes everything.
Where did the WNBA come in at? I believe the WNBA is going to come in after their investigation into the NBA because they got to go with the big brother first. I believe that the FBI is going to investigate the NBA first, wrap up that investigation, then springboard straight to the WNBA.
In Washington, the mood shifted from mild curiosity to serious concern almost overnight. The FBI had already seized devices from multiple NBA employees, but as they dug through data, something unexpected happened. Connections began surfacing where none should exist. Shared personnel between leagues, overlapping financial advisors, and digital breadcrumbs that didn't line up started forming a pattern investigators couldn't ignore. The deeper they went, the clearer the map became. And that map was pointing straight toward the WNBA.
Already cooperated by turning over their mobile phones to investigators. This comes as league faces controversial scrutiny following federal charges against prominent figures, bro. My God.
By the time Adam Silver was summoned for federal questioning, insiders say the writing was already glowing on the wall. The FBI no longer viewed this as a single team or single league situation. They believed they were uncovering a structure, a network operating across league lines, a system hidden in plain sight. And that's exactly the kind of twist Court Queens covers best. So be sure to comment what you think this network really is and who's involved.
Now, under the congressional scrutiny, the league is requesting additional information regarding the criminal charges filed by the Department of Justice last month, following the arrest of charges of Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier, Portland Trail Blazer head coach Chauncey Billups last month. House and Senate committee questioned the NBA about why it failed to relay evidence that players and coaches were involved in a plot to use personal information to help bettors win money.
Whether ready or not, the WNBA was now officially part of the investigation's blueprint. The pressure spiked when investigators connected flagged communications to individuals holding real influence inside the league. These weren't interns or part-time staff. These were people tied to game flow, officiating coordination, and major financial planning. That level of access was enough to convince federal agents that they couldn't stop now. The trail was active, and the WNBA was undeniably part of it.
See, it's this personal information part where I believe the WNBA is going to be really looked upon. For this personal information part, I believe, if I'm reading this correctly, it is affected by the referees. Now, breaking, the NBA has asked multiple teams, including the Los Angeles Lakers, to hand over documents and other because they is being looked upon, bro. They're being looked upon, bro. It's just that simple.
Behind closed doors, panic spread fast. Rumors swirled that the FBI wasn't just gathering data. They were preparing to transition into the next, far more aggressive phase of the probe. Experts familiar with federal patterns recognized the shift instantly. When investigators expand to phone logs and financial documents from an entirely different league, it's because they believe the system itself might be compromised. And this was only the beginning. As soon as the WNBA officially fell within the FBI's scope, the subpoenas hit like a wave.
Like all of the teams, guys, I'm telling you, everybody is allegedly in on this, bro. I think everybody, and I think the W is too, bro. This is a major It's a lot of money at stakes. Bro.
When the subpoenas finally dropped, they didn't just land. They detonated across the WNBA like a bomb. Federal agents were done asking politely, done waiting for voluntary cooperation. This time, they demanded everything. Unrestricted access to phone logs, internal communications, and a full spread of financial records tied directly to league operations. Insiders say this was the exact moment the atmosphere shifted from nervous whispers to full-scale panic. Because subpoenas aren't about curiosity. They mean the FBI already has reason to believe something concrete exists. And now they're coming to collect the proof. The request for phone records alone sent tremors through the league office. Investigators listed precise dates, exact time frames, specific personnel, and even department clusters they wanted unfiltered communication data from. These weren't blanket requests. They were pointed, surgical, and unmistakably deliberate. That level of precision told everyone inside the WNBA the one truth nobody wanted to say out loud. Someone had already talked. Someone had already given federal agents a reason to look deeper. Then came the financial subpoenas. And that's when fear began settling into the bones of the organization. The FBI ordered the league to turn over transaction histories, vendor contracts, internal budgets, expense trails, consulting retainers, and multi-year payment logs. Federal investigators don't ask for those documents unless they believe money has moved in ways that break federal rules. Whether the issue involved unexplained transfers, suspicious payouts, or accounting trails that didn't line up, the message was clear. The books needed to be examined line by line. Executives scrambled to assemble emergency teams of attorneys and financial specialists. Some staff quietly panicked over who these subpoenas would expose. Because every subpoena carries an unspoken message. Investigators already know where the bodies are buried. They just need the paper trail to match the digital one. As the demands rolled in, the stress rippled outward. Team employees, coaches, analysts, operations staff. All of them felt the tension rising. The WNBA could no longer cling to the idea that this was simply an NBA disaster that accidentally splashed in their direction. The FBI had officially widened its scope, and the trail pointed directly at individuals inside WNBA operations. What made things even more alarming was what investigators asked for next. They didn't just want surface-level communication. They wanted internal email chains, sensitive exchanges, scheduling formats, and correspondence that hinted at bigger systemic concerns. The moment those requests hit league headquarters, everything changed. What had been an uncomfortable situation turned into a threat to league stability. Financial transparency, leadership credibility, and the league's entire operational foundation. Sources say the financial documents requested weren't typical audit materials. They were the type designed to expose buried patterns, hidden transactions, consultant pipelines, and decision chains that suddenly didn't look so innocent under federal scrutiny. The first major red flag came from consulting payments and vendor fees that didn't match league size or revenue expectations. Investigators demanded multi-year itemization, meaning they believed this problem wasn't recent. They wanted names behind approvals, reasons contracts were issued, and who authorized the flow of funds between departments. Even tiny inconsistencies become giant issues when examined under federal lenses, especially if transactions tie back to individuals connected to multiple leagues. Another alarming detail involved bonus payouts and performance-related disbursements. While normal on paper, the FBI wanted timestamps, communication logs, approval trails, and sign-offs for all of them. That level of detail meant investigators suspected the league's financial ecosystem may have been manipulated, altered, or coordinated behind the scenes. Teams began quietly combing through their own records, terrified that something they signed off on months or years ago could be interpreted as suspicious today. Even innocent employees worried they'd be dragged in simply because their name appeared on an invoice or email chain. Behind the scenes, accountants worked overtime to compile documents, fully aware that once the FBI cross-referenced financial movements with phone logs, hidden patterns, if they existed, would light up instantly. And that was exactly the goal of this phase of the investigation. But the financial trail was only one part of what the FBI wanted. The next step was even more unsettling. Investigators began isolating specific teams and sending discreet inquiries about staff involved in game operations, officiating logistics, analytics, scheduling, and internal administrative duties. These weren't the flashy names fans know. These were the gatekeepers, the people with access to sensitive injury reports, scheduling secrets, internal memos, and travel plans. Historically, in any federal probe involving sports integrity, these roles are the pressure points. They sit at the crossroads of information and influence. And now, the FBI's spotlight was directly on them. Reports suggest that at least 2 franchises were questioned about internal emails exchanged during the same timeline as the NBA's gambling investigation. Messages that once seemed harmless were now flagged simply because they overlapped with suspicious activity from the NBA probe. The overlap between the leagues was far deeper than anyone initially realized, and with every new connection exposed, the WNBA found itself sliding further into the center of the storm. Some franchises tried to reassure employees that the inquiries were procedural, but those inside the league knew better. The FBI never asks for internal emails unless they believe those messages might reveal intent, coordination, or misconduct. Executives across multiple organizations began holding emergency meetings to prepare for potential fallout. Legal advisors told employees to avoid discussing the investigation, which only heightened paranoia. Meanwhile, rumors circulated online claiming that several officials had already been quietly interviewed. True or not, the anxiety became impossible to control. Then the story leaked. And the media didn't just report it, they sensationalized it. Headlines erupted across every major outlet. Commentators positioned the WNBA as the missing puzzle piece that tied together the NBA's unfolding scandal. Social media lit up with leaked screenshots, anonymous statements, and speculation from insiders claiming the league had ignored early warning signs. Fans felt blindsided. Critics accused the league of lacking transparency. Analysts argued that subpoenas of this magnitude only happen when investigators believe substantial evidence exists. Former players and public figures chimed in, some defending the league, but many pointing out red flags the public had overlooked. While media hysteria raged, the people affected most were the players. They were the ones living through practices overshadowed by federal investigators, answering questions from terrified family members, dodging reporters, and trying to keep their focus amidst a storm they didn't create. Veterans sensed something was different this time, something heavier. Younger players felt overwhelmed. Even normal interactions suddenly carried weight. Innocent emails felt suspicious. Travel changes felt questionable. A harmless text message could suddenly matter under federal review. Some players demanded transparency. Others stayed silent out of fear of saying the wrong thing. Trust between players and leadership started to fracture. They wanted honesty and clarity, but leadership was limited in what they could say without risking legal consequences. Behind the polished press releases, WNBA leadership was crumbling under pressure. Emergency meetings stacked on top of emergency calls. Some executives argued the league was overreacting. Others insisted full cooperation was the only option, even if it revealed damaging truths. Owners demanded answers. Legal teams pushed for compliance. The league office struggled to maintain control. And just when it seemed the crisis had reached its ceiling, federal investigators revealed they were preparing for the next phase of inquiry, a phase capable of shaking the league to its core. The FBI announced it would cross-reference every financial document with internal emails, referee schedules, injury logs, travel itineraries, and external vendor communication. This is the stage where federal investigations typically uncover patterns no one ever expected to see exposed. The list of individuals under review expanded. These weren't public names. They were operational insiders with access to back-end systems and confidential data. Referees, schedulers, analytics coordinators, consultants, all potential targets now. Outside partners, such as marketing firms and analytics companies, also risked being pulled in if any communication or payment appeared suspicious. The investigation widened dramatically, and suddenly, no corner of the league felt safe. Fans wanted answers. Players wanted reassurance. Owners wanted stability. But the FBI wasn't waiting. The probe had evolved. The targets had multiplied. And the next move belonged entirely to federal investigators. The subpoenas weren't just paperwork. They were a turning point. They pushed the WNBA into the center of a federal investigation with consequences no one can predict. Phone logs, financial trails, internal correspondence. Everything is now under federal review. And the truth that emerges next will determine whether the WNBA comes out shaken or forever changed. And if you're following this investigation with us, make sure you like, subscribe, and drop your thoughts, because Court Queens will break down every new development the moment it drops.